the Yoruba people of Africa. Our guest this evening is Dr. Brimy A.U. Olagere, Chairman, Supreme Council, United States African Development Consortium. Welcome, Dr. Olagere.
Thank you. I'm pleased to be here.
Dr. Olagere was born at Uzeba, Edo State, Nigeria, and is a citizen of Africa. He is a world traveler. He has traveled to over 167 countries and over 10,496 cities. Among his long list of affiliations are co-founder of the African Development Bank, Midwest Institute of Technology, now the University of Benin in Nigeria, Edo State University, United African States, and many others. He was sent by the first Prime Minister of Nigeria, Abubakar Tafawa Balewa, to Ghana to discuss his idea of a bank. And thereby he became the private and roving secretary to Kwame Nkrumah of Ghana. He was the advisor of the Chinese Central Bank and former and managing director of Chinese Finance and Investment Corporations, founder and chairman of 29 corporations, among which are Brimy Engineering Systems Technology, African American Airlines, African Continental University, Maryland Institute of Technology, and the United States African Development Consortium, the builders of the Republic of New African World, and a lecturer. He has numerous academic degrees, which include an engineering diploma, Bachelor of Science, Master of Business Administration, and PhD degree in Finance and Banking, and 3 honorary degrees. You'll probably need your pen and paper out to take notes from this show. Dr. Olagere, again, welcome to Africa's Vision Network.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure to be here.
Oh, we're so glad to have you. And we're excited about our topic today, the Yoruba's contribution to the world. And we just want to know how you first got inspired to be interested in the people of Africa.
Thank you very much. When I was born into a large family in Edo State, I began my education by interacting with the relatives and the elderly people, telling me more life stories about the past and how they were in what they were. And I was listening attentively, especially to the farmers who were relaying the past history, the oral history that were passed on to them by their parents, because at that time nothing were written down as such. And they were also very enlightening and inspiring indeed, because they knew the history, the past and present of their conditions as they were passed on from their parents to them. I became aware of one story that really woke me up, and that story was the relationship between the Edo people and the Yorubas. When I was told about that story, I started to relate it to the Bible that I was reading and were being taught in those days in the school. Especially that interest that aroused my speculation and desire was the history and the story about Obadiah. Obadiah in the Bible, as you may have read, is a story that really goes far beyond as it was related in the Bible. Obadiah was a diplomat by description, but he was a peacemaker. He was a brother of Moshere. Moshere was a man who was the father of the Yorubas. Obadiah, Moshere, Iwote, and Isabel were the children of Amusere of Sudan. This family came from Sudan, and their father was the crown chief of Sudan. The father came from about 72 miles from Uganda, present Uganda. And they were there at that moment and moved on to the northeast of Sudan from Uganda, Ginger. The place they were living at that time was Ginger. They moved on up north. Amusire started to raise his family. He had these 4 children, and he was very proud of them. Isabella was the mother of the Hausa Fulani people in Nigeria. Amusire also had Obadia. Obadia is the father of the Edo group. Then Moshere is the father of the Yorubas. They have a son who was called Iwoda. Iwoda was the one who was engineer and was very inventive, was a scientist. He was the one who designed the first 4 pyramids that were built in Sudan, in Nubia, Sudan, and moved on to the present Egypt. And from there, they developed the technology and advanced on it to build the current pyramids you have in Egypt.
So the first pyramids were not built in Egypt?
No, the first pyramids were never built in Egypt. They were built in Sudan first. There were 4 of them. One of them was for Moshere. Moshere was the senior son. Obadia was the second son. Isabella was the 3rd daughter and the 4th child. And Ehote was the last son.
Now you keep saying these people are from the Bible.
Yeah, well, they are from the Bible because the Bible depicts and recorded their activities, but the activities of these people were actually betrayed because they filtered them out as they were rewriting the Bible. As you know, the Israelis are the Ethiopians. The Ethiopians were the ones that breed and supported the Israelis. They migrated from Ethiopia to the present place called Jerusalem. In that place, of course, that is not the purpose for which you are here, but I'm trying to lay a foundation as to how the Yoruba contributed to the decivilization and the invention of language and mathematics. But because of the knowledge of these people, they move on to different directions. There was a harsh weather. The harsh weather that splitted them up was as a result of a drought, which lasted for almost 5 years. Now, the Yoruba people migrated from Sudan and on down to where you have Maiduguri today, northern east of Nigeria. And they crossed over from Lake Chad and followed the Benue River to the present Ilori at Kwara State in Nigeria. And from them, they move on down to Oyo, and Oyo to Ogbomoso, Ogbomoso to Ile-Ife, and they settled in the borderline. However, as a result of the movement down, they settled in that area, the Obadia family followed them, and they settled in the present Lagos, where Lagos is now until the year 300 BC, when these people were attacked by the Portuguese. If you hear that the Yoruba people are in the north, south, and west of western region, part of Nigeria, it is true because when the Portuguese attacked them, they went on through to that extent and split it up. It was then the Edo that fought the Portuguese. And that is why you have the present Benin, the Republic of Benin, and the Edo state. They are all related people. Now, before I can go further to tell you more about the Yoruba, I want to mention quickly about the United States African Development Consortium, which also is emanated from my activities with the African leaders before. When I was with Dr. Nkrumah and W.E. Du Bois, W.E. Du Bois was instrumental for the development of the African Development Bank. When I originated the idea, 3 names came up. And in those names were that African Continental Bank. He condemned that and he said, no, that we have already in place African Continental Bank established by Dr. Nnamdi Ezekwe. Then we move on down to another item. The item was the African Commercial Bank or Industrial Bank. He said, no, that was a commercial bank that cannot be interrelated with this intent of the bank. So I came out with another idea. I said, okay, what about African Development Bank? He said, that is it. African Development Bank.
So this was the beginning of your life as a developer. And how old were you?
I was 18 going to 19.
My goodness. And so now this is the way you lay the foundation to your life. And we can understand how you would want to continue to lead Africa on and help the African people spread around the world. And, you know, we're excited about our topic today. It's about these people, the Yoruba people. How many people are there that are Yoruba people? And you know, what is so great about them in terms of their population?
Well, the Yoruba, not only by population, but they were unique, and they continue to be a unique human race. They contributed immensely. After the storytelling telling me about the relationship between the Edo people and the Yorubas, it aroused my suspicion and desire to know more. I went further to the hometown where I grew up. I wanted to know about those people, where they came from, and the languages they were speaking, where they originated. In my effort to investigate and find out about these people, I found out actually that the languages spoken and used in Africa today are derived language from one tribe, and that is the Yoruba language. Wow. I said, okay, how come the Yoruba language spread length and breadth of the continent and the root word is from the Yoruba? What happened? Where do they get the language from? This inspired me to investigate more. As I delved deep into it, I found out actually that it was the Yorubas that originated the alphabet we are using, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H.
You mean the alphabet we're using in English?
Today, the alphabet we are using in English, in Latin, every language we are using and speaking today in the whole world, it was originated by the Yoruba alphabetical order.
Wow.
And when I found out that, I was amazed, although I was not satisfied. I wanted to know more how they were able to develop that language. The reason why they developed the language was after the migration from the lower Kilimanjaro on down to Jinja in Uganda, but again, that time it was not called Uganda, it was called Buganda. It was the British that misspelled Buganda and remove the B and call it Uganda. It is Buganda. Wow. Now, they move on down to Jinja, from Jinja on down to the present Sudan. When this family were growing up, they have already developed communication. But there was no language to interpret the culture, to interpret the tradition, to interpret the custom. Therefore,
so how did they speak to each other?
They were using signs, like beating drum.
Do you have any timeline for this?
Where the timeline cannot be indicated because they were not using years. They were using months, the moonshine.
Okay.
Until the catalog or the Canada was developed, years were not identified. It was the Malians, in fact, the Maroons, that were developed the Canada, principally the Fulanis, that developed the Canada, and that was the time people begin to record the activity and time place. Now, when the Yoruba were coordinated, they started with a A, B, D, E, E, J, K, N, M, O, B, R, C, Sh, W, J.
So they were using a phonetic.
They were using this language in order to decode their meanings and encode the meanings that go after each one of them. Instead of writing 3 to mean 3, 3 strokes to mean 3, they call it eta. Eta start with E. And if you want to call educational, for instance, you do not say E education. Education. It's not education, it's E. Because in Yoruba, there are two vowels that mean the same thing at the same time. E is E, E is E, and they are the same spelling. Right. It depends on how you put the dots, whether you put a bar or a dot underneath it. So, for instance, if you want to say Olagere, it's not Olagere.
It's O.
It's O, because you have to put the dot underneath it. Otherwise, the meaning lost by itself. Then, America. You cannot say America, because the R there is a vowel that says A, meaning we. Awa. The Yoruba language, when they say Awa, it means that we. It is we. Awa. You see, we are wa. A-W-A. It's not as shouting. It's not like that. So, as a result of this, the Latin borrow from it. The English borrow from it. The Greek borrow from it. The Greek, of course, I'm not going to anthropological history of origin of all those people, although they all are descendants of Africans, because without the African gene, there's no other human race. It is the African gene that develop and create other human race. But it was the Yorubas that actually genuinely, and with their ingenuity, invented the language that we are using today. People derived it from it. For instance, there are 822 languages in Africa, and all of them are derived from one language. All the other ones are repetition. My goodness. If you go to think about Swahili, for instance, Kiswahili is an origin language that is derived from the Yoruba language. You see, Kisi is Kiswahili because it's a female. That's why you say Kiswahili. Now, if you go to Hausa language, it's the same thing. If you go to Arabic language, it's the same thing. Even Islamic language in Ethiopia and in Eritrea, if you look at their vowel, you find out that actually they are language that were derived from Kiswahili. That's why from Kenya all down, Uganda, down to South Africa, they speak Kiswahili language.
Amazing. And I'm sitting here listening because I'm feeling like you can just keep on explaining to me about this alphabet. And I know people are taking notes at home, but there are some other things that the Yorubas contributed, and I want to touch on that before they start saying time out. And if you could just tell us how the Yorubas contributed to mathematics and arithmetic.
Okay. You see, arithmetic is a system that the Yoruba developed by counting numbers. They have what you call Ayo. It has 6 lines on both sides.
Which is a game?
It's a game. And it has 4 dices in each hole, 6 on both sides, and they have extra. It was the Yoruba that found out that a 0 does not exist and it's not empty. If you say 0 is empty, then you have to define what 0 is. It was the Yoruba that said that from 1 to 9 is a figure that repeats itself, except when you add 0, 0 becomes valuable and 0 is not empty factor. It's a factorial that enhances all other numbers to be round. Otherwise, 0 is not in existence. They said everything is 3. In other words, if you add 4, I mean 1, 2, 3, and you get 4, you have external. But if you do not have external, then you have 3. For instance, an example they gave was that a person came into existence to get we because he and the mother and the father are the product of that child. Therefore, that child plus the mother and father is 3 of them. When that child marries, it is 2 plus 1 plus 2 plus 1 is equal to we. It was the Yoruba that said it's only all 3 all the time. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 4 is a foreign number.
Wow.
That's why in order for you to win the game, you must have 4 seeds in each hole.
Okay.
And the 0, which is empty, is extra. So If you count round that 4, each hole contains 4. And each line is 6. On this side, 6. On the other side is 6. And you have 4 seeds in each hole. Therefore, you have a chance to win if you go around 3 times, which is 3 times 3, which is 9.
So then the 0 is nothing.
The 0 is nothing.
So there's always 9.
There is always 9. There is always 3.
Okay.
There is always 3.
How did they now spread this to the world? They taught the rest of us?
They taught it. Well, the first university that was established in Chankore, Mali, was started by the Yorubas, and they started teaching people. At that time, people go to university for 40 years. They had off-campus in Egypt. They have off-campus in Zimbabwe, what you call Zimbabwe today. They have off-campus there. And the moment that developed was when the Yoruba people moved on down to Jos, Jos Plateau State. They established that was the time when the Nok culture developed.
Okay. What's the Nok culture?
The Nok culture was a family of Yorubas that moved out from the Yoruba people, and they moved on to settle down in Jos. They settled down because as a man, if I grown up, I want to establish my own family, I move away from my family, I go and establish mine. But that time, there were no roads. There were no communication medium. There was no other way they can get in touch with their people again. For 200 years, they were all gone. They were not seeing each other again. So as a result of this, they started their own tradition. For instance, if I move from New York to Richmond without road, without communication, and I'll be away for 400 years, certainly my lifestyle and the lifestyle at New York where I was is changed.
So you develop your own.
Develop yours. This is how the Nok people grown up. Okay. And it was the Nok people that produced the Chinese. The Chinese people you have today in China, they are Nok people from Plateau State and Biron. Biron was their tribe. The Chinese people are Biron people. They migrated from there and moved on up north to form where they are now as Chinese. In other words, the Chinese are, in the present Nigeria, Chinese Nigerians.
Do you think the Chinese know this?
They know it. The Chinese are now in University of Jos in Nigeria. They are now in Ahmadu Bello University in Kaduna, studying their roots and the source of their origin.
Because I see you were the advisor of a Chinese central bank. So you were in China for some years?
I was in China for almost 2 years.
Now, when you were there, did you find them receptive to that thought?
They were receptive to it. They were amazed. They were very delighted that they're now beginning to see where they came from. And as a matter of fact, when I was teaching in some of their university, I told them what their source of origin was. They were excited. They are now investigating it. And as a matter of fact, the Chinese government is investing a lot of money. If you go to China, there are a lot of presence of Africa in China. There are more than 60 million Africans presently in China. The only difference is that once a China is a Chinese. There is no racial discrimination. It's a China, it's a China. And it's a Chinese, it's a Chinese. There's no reason to say you are from north, south, east, west. No, it's a Chinese, period.
Wow. That's exciting. I can see now, without asking this question, but I'm still going to ask it, how if Yoruba started arithmetic and mathematics, then they must have had a lot to do with beginning science and education. Now you've told us about the university in the world.
Well, when the Sankore University was established, first of all, they have to lay a foundation to teach various subjects. And they taught these subjects in order for them to move on to the other parts of the continent. When they cover the whole continent, they move on down to Samilanka, Spain, the Moors. They helped to set up a university for the Europeans. That was the first ever university established in this world at Sankore. At Samilanka, Spain. And from there, they harmonized their study program in present Zimbabwe. That's where they teach people how to do the serialization, medical doctors and so forth. The Yoruba did it, and how to smelt iron. They were building boats. And many of the Yoruba sailed across to Papua New Guinea, present Brazil, Australia, South America, in Brazil, in Venezuela, in Argentina, not in Argentina so much, in Georgetown, Guyana. If you go to Recife, Brazil, Sao Paulo, and other parts of Brazil, you find they speak Yoruba language, Yoruba and Akan language.
I'm telling you, listening to this, I was always proud to be a Yoruba woman, but I'm even more proud now, realizing how we started this civilization. And we have to have you back. Of course, we can't finish this topic in this one show, but we're just so glad that you're here with us. And I know at home you're busy taking your notes. I hope you tape this show, because you're going to have to listen to it again. And we're going to have to have Dr. Olagere back again from the United States African Development Consortium. We wish you all the best. And we're just going to, I know people are going to go out now and look in the libraries and try to go to the internet and look up where they can see more of this information. So, you know, we just need to have you come back again
Thank
to
you
tell
very
us
much.
more.
Okay.
And if you could just leave us with a word, we got 30 seconds, I think.
Okay.
A word of encouragement to us as African people scattered throughout the world.
Very well. To my brothers and sisters out there, I ask you that in order for you to get to your destination, you must have the beginning in mind. And the beginning must tell you where the end is. Begin with the end in mind. Otherwise, the journey will be so short and too arduous for you to come through. The journey is a journey that must be taken. What?